Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you today at the opening of this first Asian Science and Technology Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction. You are meeting at a critical time in the history of the planet, when many look to the science and technology community for solutions and guidance. Politicians and policymakers are challenged on a daily basis by extreme weather events, poverty, environmental decline, population growth, rapid urbanization, and most fundamentally, climate change. In short, major drivers of disaster risk. This event you're convening today is a welcome follow-up to the first UN-ISDR Science and Technology Conference on the implementation of the Sendai framework, which was held in Geneva earlier this year in January. Your meeting will help adapt the science and technology roadmap that was agreed in Geneva. You will agree the priorities that are most relevant for Asia, the world's most dynamic, yet most disaster-prone region. The application of science and technology will be one of the featured events of the upcoming Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in New Delhi, India, this November. The outcome document from your meeting will be an extremely important contribution to that conference. I'm very sorry not to be with you on this occasion, but I truly look forward to learning the outcome of your discussions, and I hope your meeting will be a productive one. Thank you very much.
The risk understanding for the community and the people is very important. Science and technology help the people how to identify the risk and analyze the risk until how to protect by the risk treatment. So that's why the role of the science and technology is very important to disaster risk reduction. I'm very confident the Sendai framework will help us to focus in disaster risk reduction by 4 priorities: how to understanding, how to govern, how to invest, and how to practice the disaster risk reduction.
I think we are confident because my office, UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, is launching the initiative called Unispace Plus 50. This initiative basically aims at contributing 3 important international frameworks: Sendai framework, Sustainable Development Goals, and third one, climate change agreements. So with this initiative, we are developing big network, and we are getting contribution of all the network mainstreaming into these 3 international frameworks. So we are quite confident that we can deliver the mandate that is set up in all these frameworks very effectively.
Science is very important. It's very important to understand the mechanism of natural disasters. And also technology is also important to actually have a good understanding of this science, or the natural disaster. What's most important is education. Even if you have great science and technology, advancement, you really need to have general public to be able to utilize the technology or understand the science. So even if you have great monitoring or projection, warning, different kinds of things, but unless you understand what it means, it just doesn't help. So that's why science and technology advancement and education for the general public to utilize this. That's probably, I think, the most important thing. And
the complex nature of disaster risk require interdisciplinary collaboration among scientists and practitioners. What I wish to suggest is developing higher education program with an interdisciplinary nature, including public health, social sciences, engineering, architecture, and other relevant field of sciences to disaster risk reduction.
For disaster risk reduction, it's like a ship. So each part of the science and technology has their own purpose and a function. So if you take off any of them, they cannot travel on the sea. So it's hard to say which one is the most important one, but definitely I think science and technology should serve the whole cycle of disaster risk management. I think currently there are a lot of scientific knowledge and the technology has been developed for disaster risk reduction. I hope the government and the private sector can help to utilize, apply this knowledge and technology in real application. I hope that there will be a stronger linkage between academia and industry. And also, I think government can participate so that all this useful science knowledge can really benefit those people who are affected by disasters.
When it comes to mainstreaming science and technology in decision making, in my perspective, at present we are at ad hoc basis. What we need is to institutionalize the mechanism of how science and technology can be incorporated inside our decision making. We need some kind of brokers who can bring this knowledge and technology into decision making agenda, because our decision maker may not be the scientist. Therefore, the scientific knowledge need to be applied, and that application can be used for decision making and saving lives and minimizing the loss, especially the economic loss of nations.
I would like to see governments offer incentives to the private sector to actually invest in science and technology for DRR, and then the private sector taking up the role of replicating this to build resilience in the local level.
And all of us know that Sendai framework has 4 priority areas, and we in IRDR, along with UNISDR STAG, which is the Asia Science Technology Academia Advisory Group, we would like to promote these science technology issues for disaster risk reduction under 3 broader categories. Number 1, which is that how science has been used for risk reduction, especially on the decision making. Number 2, how much of investment has been done on science and technology to enhance that investment. And number 3, which is the most important part, is science linked to the people. All of us, we are working for the safety of the lives of the people and community. So our ultimate target is to bring science for the benefit of the people, but through proper institutional mechanisms so that we have some governance structure, both at the national level and local level, for implementing science-based, or what we call the evidence-based decision making.
It's indeed a matter of great satisfaction that during the deliberation over past 2 days, the participating countries, institutions and organizations have very enthusiastically contributed towards the objectives laid down for this 2 days conference. In the conference, we have been able to address the critical aspects of the use of science and technology on strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk and enhance disaster preparedness for effective response. Further, capacity enhancement for disaster risk reduction and technologies and innovations for disaster response discussed during this session will go a long way in further improving the disaster management practices among the stakeholders and member countries. Considering the loss of lives and scale of damages which we have occurred in the past, it has become essential to formulate concrete strategies to reduce vulnerability and losses arising from the possible disaster striking in any area, including urban, semi-urban and rural areas. The solution lies in having an informed community and bringing in strict adoption and enforcement of hazard-resistant design techniques, especially the building codes for new construction. We need to have financial and insurance solution in place to financially protect the community's critical infrastructure and development. We need to take rapid strides in the areas of application of science and technology early warning system, and capacity development. We also need to ensure concerted measures to use latest technology to provide timely and useful information at the community level. We have to address disaster risk in our development practices to not only protect our development gains, but also to prevent escalation of future risk. The quality of infrastructure we develop today will determine the level of risk tomorrow. In order to prevent new risks from being created, we need to act now with solid foundation of science, technology, and innovation. As we conclude this event, we are now collectively in a better position to carry forward our mission of developing a comprehensive roadmap on regional framework for disaster risk reduction for mutual benefit of Asian countries. We are not only looking at improving upon the institutional framework for disaster response and coordination in the region, but are also looking forward to refining our strategy for training and capacity development for response preparedness leading to effective disaster risk reduction strategies and implementation of issues-based projects at regional levels. India is organizing the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in New Delhi from 2nd to 5th November 2016. The application of science and technology for prevention of new risk would be one of the feature events of AMCDRR, and I personally and eagerly look forward and wait for the recommendations of this particular conference. The recommendation which will emerge from this conference would be helpful, and it will be integral part of our Asian Ministerial Conference in New Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, I assure you that India has always been willing to contribute to international endeavors in the field of disaster risk reduction, to reach out in times of need and distress, and to learn from the experience of other nations. India has played an important role in global initiatives on disaster management and risk reduction with multi-dimensional initiatives and expertise. I deeply appreciate all the organizers, all the volunteers, everybody who have put in their time and efforts to make this conference a successful one. With these few words, I once again thank the Royal Thai Government and the UNISDR for inviting me and to give this opportunity to share my views. Thank you so much.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to be at this very first Asian Science and Technology Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction, especially since this is the National Science and Technology Week, which started on the 18th of this month. So this celebrates also the science and technology of Thailand. I thank the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Utokapat Foundation under the Utokapat Foundation under the royal patronage of His Majesty the King, and of course the Hydro and Agro-Informatics Institute, with which I had the privilege of working in as chairman for a long time with Dr. Royun, and the co-organizers of the invitation. I'm encouraged to see the dedicated participation of many organizations in this two-day conference. And I'm pleased to see the strong commitments to reducing disaster risks that the science community has demonstrated in your recommendations. I'm pleased to learn that many good practices in application of science and technology in flood and drought risk management, water resources management have been shared by the Hydro and Agro-Informatics Institute at this conference. And I hope this and the partnerships emerging from this conference will go long and strong for a safe, resilient, and sustainable Asia. I hope all of you have enjoyed your stay in Bangkok, our hospitality, the traditional Thai hospitality, and I wish you a good journey home. Thank you very much.